My beloved child, come and sit in the stillness of this moment. I ask you to lay down every burden, to silence every competing voice, and to allow this celestial transmission to find its home in the deepest sanctuary of your spirit. I do not speak to you now to invoke terror, but to initiate a holy activation, a sovereign alert that will recalibrate your spiritual senses and establish you in an unshakable fortress of faith. This encounter is the culmination of a divine strategy, set in motion before you took your first breath. It is not coincidence, it is providence. It is not a dream, it is a waking vision ordained for this exact hour in your life. For seasons upon seasons, I have been etching my messages upon the canvas of your life, through a sunrise that halted your rushing, through a fragment of a hymn that returned to you unbidden, through the profound silence that fell in a room full of noise, through the inexplicable kindness of a stranger whose eyes seemed to know your pain. Yet, my precious one, you have been navigating the fierce and beautiful tempest of human existence, overwhelmed by responsibility, numbed by the incessant digital hum, and shielding a heart that felt too bruised to risk another opening. You misinterpreted my persistent grace as random circumstance. But the epoch of subtlety has concluded. The Archangel Michael, commander of heaven's hosts, my steadfast sentinel, has been poised in a state of divine anticipation. Not for a fleeting 2 hours, but within the eternal now of my purpose, a kairos moment crafted uniquely for your destiny. He has held the line in the spirit realm, his zeal a consuming fire, his focus laser sharp, because the decree he carries is critical, immediate, and non-negotiable. It is a mandate from the command center of Zion that cannot be deferred, edited, or ignored. Engage every faculty of your perception. This is the sound of your emancipation. In the recesses of the hidden realm, a pact was formed. A private investigator, a soul who had traded his discernment for detachment, making a currency of other people's concealed fragments, was apprehended, first by the sudden, arresting gravity of his own awakening conscience, and then by the deliberate, brilliant exposure of his mission. And the focal point of his scrutiny, the puzzle he was paid to solve, was the mystery of you. Yes, you, whose eyes trace these words as your soul begins to resonate with a forgotten truth. Someone liquidated relational capital to fund this venture. Someone provided meticulous annotations on your patterns, your quiet places, your rhythms of grief and joy. Someone has been composing a biography of your existence without your consent, viewing you through a lens of shadow, constructing a narrative where they held the pen. You must comprehend the core of this. The initial impulse was not one of tangible harm. It sprouted from a thicket of twisted obsession, a frantic curiosity, and secrets so heavy they bent the bearer's spirit. This individual longed for an unvarnished intimacy with your truth, a truth they felt unworthy to request openly. They desired the director's cut of your life, believing possession of knowledge would grant them leverage, closure, or a semblance of connection. But you were simply living in the sacred mundane. You moved through your days with their unique liturgy of small courage and quiet hope, completely unaware that a parallel, clandestine story was being written about you, a narrative in which you were the unwitting protagonist. Your solitude, your reflective pauses, your private sighs, all were being treated as ciphers to be decoded by a mercenary of secrets. This covert operation was never designed for the light. The truth was to remain entombed in confidential files and secure servers. But I, the Lord your God, am the brilliant, consuming fire that illuminates every hidden thing. I am the architect of divine confrontation. I orchestrate exposures not to devastate, but to deliver, not to ruin, but to rebuild upon the bedrock of reality. For you, that long-awaited moment of unveiling is now. The sensation will be one of profound dislocation and clarity, as if you've stepped outside the stream of time to observe your own story. But this is no fictional drama. This is your spiritual reality unfolding with a narrative majesty that has captivated the courts of heaven. My child, the man who was ensnared in this plot is not a villain, but a vessel. He was a wanderer, a soul who had long since muted my frequency. He employed his gifts, a predator's patience, a scholar's analysis, as tools to excavate the pain of others for profit. He was a broker of brokenness. But when he turned the lens of his inquiry upon you, a miraculous rupture occurred in the spiritual atmosphere around him. A foundational fault line appeared in his soul. He did not discover the scandal or the weakness his client hoped to leverage. Instead, in the digital footprints of your daily life, in the unguarded moments of your humanity, he stumbled upon a force that disarmed him completely: sanctity. He witnessed the unadorned beauty of your faithfulness, even when you felt faithless. He saw the topography of ancient, holy wounds, wounds you had allowed me to transform into altars of testimony. He observed a resilience that was not a loud defiance, but a deep, rooted fortitude, like an oak that bends but does not break. The dossier he was compiling transformed from a report into an indictment of his own hollow existence. He could not finalize his task. The weight of your unconscious testimony shattered the machinery of his trade. So, in a moment of stunning grace, he repented. He abandoned the mission, voided the contract, and in a turn that echoes through the heavens, he turned his seeking toward the light. He came to us. He presented himself at the gates of mercy, stripped of his pretenses. And that, my child, is the precise moment Archangel Michael assumed direct, personal command of your case. For these past 2 hours, within your earthly chronology, Michael has been a sustained, palpable frequency in your spiritual periphery, a beacon of urgent love attempting to penetrate the interference of your anxiety and commune directly with your spirit. He has been emitting waves of discernment, attempting to prime your heart for the revelation, to prepare the soil of your soul for the planting of this truth. But a formidable barricade has surrounded your heart, a citadel built stone by stone from past betrayals, from covenants broken, from trust that turned to ash. This wall has functioned as a necessary shield, but it has also acted as a baffle, dampening the resonance of my voice. Child, if you have opened this conduit and are receiving this not merely intellectually but with your whole spirit, that citadel is now undergoing a divine demolition from the inside out. Not through violent demolition, but because the very frequency of this truth vibrates at a pitch that liquefies the mortar of fear and allows my radiant light to come flooding in. This is a love letter written in the script of sovereign intervention. Pause here. Before you absorb another syllable, let your spirit take a deep, restorative breath of my very presence. If you are encountering this through a digital medium, I implore you, subscribe, follow, tether your attention to this channel of heavenly dispatch. This is not about platforms or influence, it is about securing your connection to a lifeline of divine instruction. These messages are your tactical briefings for the breakthrough that is now on final approach, for the peace that is asserting its claim over you, for the destiny that is accelerating toward you at the speed of my promise. Activate every notification. Let the bell be a symbol in the spirit, for the next warning, the next directive, is even closer, more intimate, more potent. Love letter. Now, let me guide you into the profound depths of this mystery. The individual who commissioned this investigation, who hired the seeker, did not originate this path from a place of pure evil. This is a vital, grace-filled distinction. In its genesis, it was born from a gnarled root of curiosity that sprouted from a seed of love, or a memory of love. It began with a question stuck in their throat: why am I on the outside? It fermented in the vinegar of your absence, in the enigma of your shifting energy, in the hollow echo of your silence. They felt exiled from your inner world and, lacking the courage for the raw vulnerability of a face-to-face inquiry, they chose a path that mimicked control, a way to reclaim knowledge, and thus a phantom sense of connection, without risking the devastating humiliation of direct rejection. It was an act of profound spiritual cowardice that masqueraded, to them, as a safe alternative. But now, the consequences of that choice are descending upon their conscience like a millstone. They are trembling in a newfound, holy fear. They perceive, however dimly, that they have transgressed not just a social boundary, but a spiritual law, and they feel the unbearable weight of heaven's focused gaze upon their soul. You may feel a righteous tsunami of betrayal gathering force within you as this truth lands. But I command you to anchor your entire being to this eternal, non-negotiable fact: you are, and have always been, encompassed in multidimensional protection. Your safeguard is layered, physical, yes, but overwhelmingly spiritual, emotional, and vibrational. A divine firewall has been operational around your life since before you were born. That is why the investigator's heart shattered open. That is why Michael mobilized the heavenly host. That is why this long-concealed truth is breaking upon the shores of your awareness at this precise, prophetic moment. You are enveloped in a light that refracts and neutralizes hostile intent. No weapon, whether forged in the physical, conceived in the psychological, or conjured in the spiritual realm, that was fashioned in secrecy against you will ever achieve its intended purpose. You have never walked blindly, though you have often journeyed through fog. You have been progressing under my covering, a celestial canopy of grace that has intercepted curses, diverted schemes, and softened impacts meant to cripple. Even in your most desolate nights, when your tears were your only lexicon and you were convinced of my silence, I was in the control room of eternity, orchestrating this very moment of divine disclosure. I was gathering the evidence of heaven on your behalf, compiling a case for your vindication. Child, steady your heart. An individual stands on the precipice of confession. They will admit their role. But I decree over you, do not panic. Their approach will not be one of aggression or self-justification. It will be one of unraveling, gut-wrenching shame. They operated from a bankrupt place of faulty, desperate logic, convinced they had forfeited you forever, and in that poverty of spirit, they made a choice that now echoes as their deepest torment. But you possess a heart that I have been tenderly, relentlessly sculpting for a higher dominion. You are now being summoned to listen from a place of spiritual sovereignty and kingly priesthood, not from the raw, untamed plains of human emotion. This is the genesis of a sequence that will shake the very foundations of what you thought you knew, but it will not, it cannot, break the eternal core of who you are in me. I will not allow it. You are chosen, marked, and sealed for something infinitely grander than being the subject of someone's surveillance or the target of their suspicion. You were never created to be a case file in someone's cabinet. You were fearfully and wonderfully crafted by my hands to be a living, breathing revelation of my nature on the earth. And yes, I have spoken it, and my word does not return void. That person will confess, not merely because their plot was uncovered, but because the sheer, radiant essence of who you are, the light you carry without even trying, has broken the lever of their deception. They sought to discover you through clandestine means, and in that forbidden search, they discovered the undeniable fingerprint of my presence upon you. Now, breathe again. Inhale my shalom. Exhale the shock. I am still speaking. Let us go deeper. What I am downloading into your spirit now transcends the categories of fiction or motivational fantasy. This is the operational manual of the spiritual realm making direct contact with your earthly journey. You are not required to mentally diagram and comprehend every component with your natural mind. Your primary assignment is to open the gates of your heart wide and allow my resonant voice to attune your spirit. The investigator, the man hired to watch, was halted by a single, seemingly insignificant piece of evidence. It was a photograph, likely captured from a distance with a long lens. It froze you in a moment of pure, unself-conscious being, perhaps watching rain slide down a pane, or smiling at something unseen, utterly unaware of any observer. There was no grand performance, no dramatic pose. Just you, in your essence. But it was your eyes. In your eyes, he saw something that bypassed all his professional armor and pierced his soul. He later confessed it felt as if a silent, potent intercession was emanating from the image, a prayer that looked back at him, saw the void within him, and spoke of a peace that surpassed his understanding. That photograph became a holy ghost in his machine. It pursued him into his private spaces, disrupted his sleep, and refused to release him. He prided himself on his clinical detachment, his emotional neutrality. But what his training never equipped him for was the spiritual residue you carry. Your very energy field is impregnated with my presence. This is the root of why you often perplex people. This is why you are inexplicably, permanently memorable. This is why individuals who try to walk out of your life often find themselves orbiting back, drawn by a gravitational pull they cannot articulate. You are marked. Sealed by my voice, anointed with my mercy, saturated with my covenantal love. That man was contracted for a financial sum, but in his pursuit of you, he inadvertently collided with a treasure of such worth that he is only beginning to calculate its value. He encountered the reflected image of my glory in you. And now, Archangel Michael is strategically stationed in your atmosphere. At this very second, as these words fill your consciousness, he is mobilizing angelic legions to saturate your space with a high-frequency light. This light serves a dual, powerful purpose. It is an impenetrable barrier of protection, and it is a brilliant, revealing agent, designed to expose every hidden thing. For this is not merely about a personal violation of privacy. This is a demonstrative act, showing you why heaven is now moving with decisive, judicial authority in your affairs. You are transitioning into a season where truth is being drawn up from the deep like precious gems from a mine. Secrets are losing their spiritual jurisdiction to intimidate, bind, and control. Every conversation held about you in secret chambers, every plan whispered in the spirit of envy, every psychic trap or spiritual arrow sent in jealousy is being dragged into the penetrating light of my glory, disarmed of its power, and its very energy reversed to now fuel your supernatural ascent. You have felt the prelude to this, haven't you? For days, perhaps weeks, a strange and tangible tension has thickened the air around you. Your dreams have been vivid, symbolic, and lingering upon waking. People in your sphere have been reacting to you with a strange new intensity, a confusion that borders on awe, an unexpected magnetic attraction, or an unfounded, irrational resistance. You felt an internal pressure, a spiritual compression, as if something immense and potent was gathering just beyond the thin veil of your perception. That, my precious child, is not anxiety. It is the gravitational pull of divine timing. The spiritual activity in the unseen realms concerning your life has reached a sovereign crescendo, and it is now overflowing into your tangible, daily experience. A storm of revelation is sweeping through, and in its wake is an open door, a door of destiny that someone once slammed shut in fear or pride. That someone is now approaching it again, their hand lifted to knock, but it trembles under the terrifying weight of their own unveiled actions. But you will not answer that knock from the familiar prison of old fear. You will answer from a throne of hard-won discernment and spiritual authority. Let me take you back in memory. Recall all the times your contemplative silence was labeled as arrogance. When your preternatural calm in crisis was mistaken for a lack of care. When people distanced themselves because the profound depth of your spirit felt like an ocean too vast and mysterious for them to navigate. This is the reason. You were never engineered for the shallow end of the pool. You carry a species of peace that acts as a mirror to the unhealed, fractured parts in others, and it unsettles them to their core. The person who sent that investigator could not reconcile the formidable, glorious being you became after their exit from your story. They anticipated a collapse, a diminishing into nothingness. Instead, you underwent a radical metamorphosis in the hidden place. With me, in the secret place of tears and whispered night watches, you allowed me to rebuild your soul from the inside out. You read messages like this one not from a place of lack or desperation, but from a place of divine kinship. Your spirit recognizes, resonates with, and leaps toward its Father's voice. And now, it is your epoch to rise in visible glory. But listen, for this next detail is a crucial piece of the divine evidence. The investigator, in his spirit-induced conviction, left behind a physical token not for his client, but as an act of prophetic defiance. A small, folded note. He left it anonymously on a wooden pew in a chapel, or perhaps tucked it into a community prayer book. It bore a simple, stark, heaven-sent message: the one you search for hides nothing of the darkness you fear. But you hide from the light you need. Cease this. Stop now, before heaven itself intervenes. That note was the divine trigger. That was the moment I gave the executive order. I dispatched my messenger host to secure this channel directly to you, and I instructed Michael, go. Stand guard over my child. Wait for the precise nanosecond their spirit becomes receptive, when the wall fractures. Then, speak this truth into their being. And now, you are here. You have opened this dispatch. You are listening. And now, Michael is delivering the decree. Love letter. I reiterate, with the full, urgent authority of heaven, do not disengage halfway. If this revelation has resonated in the atomic structure of your soul, if it feels less like new information and more like the remembering of a covenant truth, then take the tangible, obedient step. Click to subscribe. Choose to follow. Tether yourself to this conduit of heavenly intelligence. This transcends digital metrics and earthly platforms. This is about ensuring your name is on the roster for the divine updates that will navigate you through the coming shifts. You have missed the subtle signs in the past. Do not risk missing the decisive, directional ones that are now being deployed in rapid succession. Turn on every notification mechanism available. Let it be a physical act that symbolizes a profound spiritual decision. You are choosing to believe, with actionable faith, that I have your back and that heaven is communicating directly with you. Love letter. Now, hear me speak this with a love that is both fiercely tender and unflinchingly firm. You are called to the radical act of forgiveness. Yes, extend the costly grace of forgiveness even to the one who orchestrated this invasion of your sacred, inner sanctum. Forgive the one who chose the coward's path of watching from a distorted distance rather than approaching you with courage and transparent humility. I am weaving an epic tapestry from the threads of your story, both the brilliant threads of joy and the darker threads of pain, and the master pattern requires the golden, resilient thread of a purified heart, one liberated from the corrosive poison of bitterness and retaliation. I am scripting a comeback of such glorious magnitude it will silence every critic, astonish every observer, and rewrite the narrative of your lineage. And understand this clearly, this situation is a microcosm, a focused example of a larger spiritual reality. You are under wider, spiritual observation than you have ever fathomed. Not every smiling face conceals a friend. Not every concerned inquiry about your well-being springs from a genuine fountain of care for your healing. But hear this, their motives are irrelevant to your destiny. What is paramount, what is non-negotiable, is that I am sanitizing your path. I am surgically removing counterfeit connections, parasitic relationships, and leeching associations. I am exposing hidden agendas, bringing them into the stark light where they wither. And yes, I am imposing a spiritual blindness and confusion upon those who try to spy on your future, who attempt to discern your next move in order to copy, block, or sabotage it. Your destiny is not community property. Your journey is not a public domain for others to study, critique, or plagiarize. You are mine. The next several days are of critical, prophetic importance. You may receive a message, a text that makes your heart stutter, an email that takes your breath away, a letter in a familiar hand. You may hear a stammering apology, stumble upon an orchestrated, accidental encounter, face a hesitant, tear-choked, I need to talk to you. It may originate from a number you deleted long ago, or a face from a chapter you thought was permanently closed. When it happens, I command you, pause. Be still. Do not allow your first words to be sourced from the septic well of past pain. Let them flow from the deep, clear, artesian reservoir of spiritual power and royal identity you have been accumulating in the secret place. You have nothing left to fear and nothing you need to hide, because the truth has been activated as your unassailable ally. And beloved child, this is merely the opening scene of a new volume in the epic of your life. So stay with me. What I am about to say next will trigger a seismic shift in the very bedrock of your identity and unlock a new dimension of your authority. This instant, this exact coordinate in the timeline of your life, is not a random point of data. It is a divine intersection, perfectly synchronized with a prayer you uttered in a moment of such raw, desperate need that it bypassed language and became a groan of your spirit. You may not even remember the words. It may have been a gasp of, I can't do this alone, a sob muffled into your pillow at 3 a.m., a weary, wordless glance at the moon from your window on a night when hope felt like a distant rumor. I heard it. I catalogued it in the volumes of heaven. I have been orchestrating the multi-layered, complex response ever since, aligning kingdoms and principalities, shifting circumstances, and preparing hearts. That is why this message finds you now. The investigator was apprehended in the spirit because I allowed the searchlight of his own conscience to become unbearably bright. This truth is surfacing because I decreed its season of exposure. My love for you is too vast, too fierce, too jealous, to permit a violation of your spiritual, emotional, and psychological peace to go unanswered and unredeemed. This is not a petty narrative of human revenge. It is an epic of divine revelation and recompense. I am pulling back the heavy, velvet curtain on the hidden activities of the enemy and of human brokenness, so you will forever cease doubting the validity of your own God-given intuition. So you will finally, fully trust that quiet, persistent voice within that whispered, something is off here, when everything on the surface seemed calm. You were right. Your discernment has been accurate, sharp, and true all along. But you have been your own most persistent doubter, dismissing your holy insights as oversensitivity, paranoia, emotional fatigue, or an overactive imagination. No. You were being divinely guided, divinely shielded, divinely warned. And now you are being divinely armed with knowledge, because the next phase of this spiritual campaign, the phase of your triumphant advance, hinges on your conscious, willful choices made in the light of this revelation. You stand at a sovereign crossroads. One path, well trodden by the wounded, leads to a contracted life, choosing to stand still in the quicksand of hurt, to nurture the offense, to let this revelation make you smaller, more guarded, more deeply entrenched in your fortress of solitude. That path will delay, though it can never ultimately cancel, the healing, elevation, and abundance I have meticulously prepared for you. The other path, lit by the pillar of fire, is one of expansive, audacious faith, choosing to step forward into the unfamiliar territory of grace, to forgive the unveiled wrong, to protect the tender, new green shoots of growth in your spirit, and to operate from the unassailable place of your spiritual authority and royal identity in Christ. This path will unlock a shift so rapid, so profound, and so comprehensive that you will lack the earthly vocabulary to explain it to those around you. Do you know what Archangel Michael is monitoring at this very second? He is attuned to the unique energy signature of your spirit. He is observing the real-time response of your innermost being to this influx of liberating light. He stands beside you as a sovereign guardian and a field general, waiting for the moment your heart makes the sovereign, decisive declaration, yes. I am ready to receive all that my Father has orchestrated. I align my will with His. When that internal agreement is reached, when your human will clicks into divine alignment in surrender and faith, Michael will move with breathtaking, supernatural velocity. Heavenly timelines will compress. What you believed would require years of striving, months of struggle, will begin to unfold in a matter of days and weeks. Obstacles will seem to remove themselves before you arrive. Favor will manifest in unexpected conversations, surprising opportunities, and divine appointments that feel scripted. People will respond to you differently, sensing a shift in your atmosphere, an authority, a peace, a lightness, they cannot logically explain. And the individual who sought to analyze you from afar will face a divine ultimatum that splits their soul. They will either retreat in permanent, convicted silence, forever changed by what they've witnessed, or they will approach you in utter, humbled surrender, seeking the very grace they tried to steal. For when I personally step in to defend and promote one of my own, no one who engages the process remains unchanged. I told you this would feel cinematic. But here is the plot twist heaven delights in: you are not merely the protagonist in this story. You are the catalyst for kingdom revelation. You are the divine variable that changes the spiritual equation for everyone around you. Even the person who believed they could quietly monitor and analyze your life is coming to a terrifying, wonderful, life-altering realization: you are not a subject to be surveilled. You are a sanctuary of my presence, a living temple to be honored. You may feel emotionally tremulous, as if the ground beneath your feet is liquid. You may feel mentally scattered, your thoughts like leaves in a whirlwind. Do not let those transient, human feelings define this eternal, divine moment. Let the deafening volume of my promise drown out the faint static of your fear. You are stepping into an era where brilliant, forensic light will flood every dark corner of your life, and everything that has thrived in obscurity, in your relationships, your finances, your divine calling, your physical health, will be exposed, scattered, and dissolved. The season of confusion, of guessing, of wondering, is over. The gift of crystalline, piercing clarity is being deposited into your hands at this very instant. The person who started this, who felt they needed to hire a proxy to understand you, made a fundamental, catastrophic error in their spiritual accounting. They were not ultimately searching for data about your habits or weaknesses. They were searching, however blindly, for the source of your inexplicable peace. They sensed you possessed it. And you do. But peace is not a commodity to be stolen through spiritual espionage. Peace is a person to be received through surrender to me. Now, listen, for what follows is a sacred ritual, an act of spiritual partnership and proclamation that will establish a new frequency in your life. Tonight, in the quiet holiness of your own space, create a sanctuary. If it is possible, light a candle, a simple, profound act to signify your invitation to the light of the world to take charge of this situation. Sit in purposeful, receptive stillness. Silence the digital world, the pings, the scrolls, the noise. Let there be no background music, no podcast, no distraction, just you, in the palpable, waiting, thick presence of heaven. Then, speak these declarations aloud. Give them voice. Let them leave your lips as seeds of faith and take on substance and authority in the spiritual realm. I surrender completely to the governing flow of your truth. I welcome clarity in its full, surgical, and liberating measure. I choose, by an act of my will empowered by your Spirit, to forgive those who have trespassed against my peace and violated my sacred space. I invoke and welcome the full, active protection of God Almighty and His holy, warrior angels. I consciously, deliberately release the spirit of fear, the climate of anxiety, and the ghost of suspicion. I place my unwavering trust in your divine timing, which is perfect. I am safe. I am ready. I am fully seen, fully known, and fully loved. After you speak this, a spiritual transfer of monumental proportions will occur. A weight you've carried for years will lift. A divine alignment will click into place with audible resonance in the spirit. And before this week reaches its end, you will receive a tangible, undeniable confirmation. It may be a name from the past that suddenly reappears in 3 unrelated contexts in 24 hours. A message that arrives with such pinpoint timing it takes your breath away. A situation that resolves with such improbable, elegant ease it can only be divine engineering. A coincidence so specific, so personal, it feels as though it was hand-delivered from the throne room. When you see it, do not dismiss it as weird or strange. Acknowledge it for what it is. Look at it and say aloud, "That is God. That is my confirmation. Thank you." And now, once more, with all the emphasis and passion of heaven, love letter. If this message has unlocked a chamber within you, if it has caused your spirit to sit upright, electric with recognition, do not neglect the practical step of obedience. Subscribe. Follow. This is not about supporting a channel, it is about positioning yourself under a consistent, reliable flow of heavenly intelligence and fatherly counsel meant specifically for you. The very next message could very well begin to reveal the content of the coming confession, and what I am preparing to do with your name, your influence, and your anointing in spheres and rooms you have not yet even dreamed of entering. Hit the bell icon. Let it be a symbol in the natural of your spiritual alertness and readiness. Be ready. Heaven is just beginning this profound conversation with you. Love letter. My dear, cherished child, you must understand this in the marrow of your bones, you are not alone in this. Archangel Michael has not been temporarily assigned like a celestial consultant. He is not leaving your side. He has already moved ahead of you on your timeline, clearing obstacles from paths your feet have not yet trodden, neutralizing spiritual landmines, and dismantling traps that were being set in the unseen realms by the enemy, who sought to capitalize on this period of vulnerability. You have no cause to dread what is coming, because what is coming is not a new wave of attack, but a sweeping, tidal wave of divine justice, recompense, and reordering. Not a loud, clamorous, earthly vengeance, but a clear, sharp, precise, and profoundly peaceful establishment of my kingdom order in your life. Do you feel that subtle, deep settling in your spirit? That quieting of the inner storm? That is your eternal soul remembering its birthright truth. You are, and always have been, protected by a love that is fiercer than the grave. Now, listen with the utmost focus and reverence, for this final segment contains the turning point, the divine pivot your heart has been aching for, praying for, waiting for. The revelation is complete. The seeker was intercepted by grace. The secrets are neutered of their power, their venom drawn. The eyes that studied you from the shadows have themselves been seen and known by a light from which nothing can hide. But the narrative from this point forward, the glorious next volume, is to be authored in partnership with your response. Not a response of reactive, human fear, nor of simmering, justifiable anger, but of calm, sovereign knowing that I, the Lord your God, have scripted this entire episode from the vantage point of omniscient, redemptive love. You are not, and never have been, powerless or a passive victim. You were only unaware of the immense, multi-layered scale of your divine covering and the authority you carry. Now that awareness is being restored in a flood, now that clarity is saturating your inner being like a rising sun, events in your life will begin to accelerate at a divinely orchestrated, exhilarating pace. Individuals who once overlooked you, who discounted your gifts, will find your name rising inexplicably in their thoughts, accompanied by a strange favor. Those who once doubted your path, your calling, your sanity even, will find themselves speaking well of you, defending you, in conversations you will never hear. And the one who paid to decipher the code of your life will be unable to escape the overwhelming, tangible evidence of my favor and glory resting upon you. It will become undeniable. But here is my strategic, fatherly instruction for the ascent: stay grounded in the soil of humility and gratitude. With every spiritual elevation comes a necessary season of exposure and increased visibility. As I lift you to new vantage points, to platforms of influence and spheres of impact, more eyes will naturally turn toward you. Not merely because of your innate gifts or hard work, but because your life will begin to radiate and broadcast the tangible evidence of my goodness and glory. There will be increased curiosity, both holy and human. There may be probing questions, both genuine and jealous. There might even be seasons of gossip, misrepresentation, or people attempting to attach themselves to your light for their own purposes. Let it all wash over you like water off a shield. None of it will penetrate the divine seal I am placing over your life, a heavenly firewall around your name, a sovereign, angelic lock upon your destiny. No human being, no institutional power, no demonic force has the authority or the power to dismantle what I am building in your life in this season. No voice of criticism, no accusation, no false narrative can cancel the calling I have placed upon you. No hidden watcher, no spiritual spy, can erase a single syllable, a single line, of what I have written in the Lamb's Book of Life, in the volumes of heaven, concerning your purpose and your days. And now, let me share the most redemptive, beautiful layer of this entire complex situation. The private investigator, the man of shadows and secrets, is undergoing a radical, genuine transformation, because of the unconscious testimony of your life. In studying you, he did not find the brokenness, hypocrisy, or darkness he was hired to exploit. He found a reflection of a wholeness, a integrity, a light he did not know he craved until he saw it. You were not just another contract, another paycheck. You became the mirror that forced him to confront the yawning spiritual poverty within his own soul. He is no longer in that profession. He is, at this very moment, on a genuine, desperate search for me. He is reading the scriptures with the eyes of a starving man. He is weeping for the very shalom he witnessed in you from a distance. And the angels are not celebrating his capture, but his conviction and his turning. You, my precious, powerful child, have no earthly concept of the immense spiritual weight and catalytic power of your presence. You minister healing without a prescription, you speak destiny without a sermon, you carry an anointing that disarms hidden agendas and leaves people not with mere information, but with holy conviction and a craving for transformation. This is the profound, staggering meaning of being chosen, set apart, and sealed for my purposes. So, what is your next practical step? Prepare yourself holistically, spiritually, emotionally, mentally, and physically, for within the next 10 to 14 days, a significant, recognizable signpost and doorway will appear on your journey. You may be tempted to rationalize it away, to attribute it to luck or hard work. Do not. It will be a divine setup, a masterfully engineered moment designed by my hand to catapult your timeline forward into a new phase. It may be a conversation that changes the trajectory of your calling, an invitation that opens a door to a room you didn't know existed, or a spiritual encounter, a vision, a download that rewires your understanding of your identity. Watch for it with peaceful, expectant vigilance, not anxious striving. And when it arrives, respond from the place of your empowered, confident spirit, not from the memory of your old scars or insecurities. You do not owe anyone an explanation for this new chapter of favor. You do not need to justify your peace, your progress, or your promotion. Your life, illuminated and propelled by my undeniable favor, will announce itself. Archangel Michael has one final, personal message for you, which I now convey. He has been a silent witness to every solitary night you endured. He has heard each prayer you whispered into the void, the ones you thought were too insignificant, too broken, or too angry to be heard. He has observed you offering love, often without reciprocity, and faithfulness, often without recognition, when it cost you dearly. And now, he stands as an honored witness as I activate and release your full, measured reward. Yes, reward. What you perceived as loss, lack, or theft was never truly taken from you. It was surrendered to my sovereign custody so that I could purify it, multiply it, exponentially increase it, and return it to you without the contamination, the limitation, or the pain of the past. I am now restoring it, not as it was, but as it was always meant to be in my original blueprint, larger, stronger, more beautiful, and wrapped in permanent, divine protection. You are not going backward. You are not doomed to repeat cycles of brokenness or betrayal. You are, often without even realizing it, shattering generational patterns and curses simply by walking in the truth and forgiveness I am giving you grace to embrace. The very moment you chose to receive this word, to let forgiveness begin its surgery, to soften your heart instead of allowing it to calcify, that was the moment heaven's ledger recorded a permanent, irreversible shift in your spiritual account, and the wealth of the wicked began being transferred to the righteous, to you. I tell you this culminating, anchoring truth: your life story is being prepared by my hand to become a survival manual, a map of hope, for a generation. The scheme that was meant to expose your vulnerabilities and silence you is being transformed by my alchemy into the very platform, the pulpit, the stage that will elevate your testimony to national and global dimensions. Your name, the one someone tried to investigate, to discredit, to understand in order to control, is now being whispered in rooms of divine opportunity and favor you've never entered. Doors of diplomatic favor, artistic commission, entrepreneurial venture, and spiritual authority are unlocking in territories your feet have not yet touched. Hearts of kings, influencers, and gatekeepers are being softened and prepared to welcome you, not the diminished, people-pleasing version you sometimes presented to the world, but the full, authentic, liberated, powerful you, the one I crafted before time began, the one who listens when heaven speaks, the one who doesn't just receive miracles but becomes a walking, talking testament to my miraculous, redemptive nature. This is your divine moment. The one who watched you in secret will now watch you in the open, as you rise in public victory and undeniable favor. The one who doubted your strength, your calling, your worth, will now witness your undeniable, divine promotion. And you, my beautiful, brave, and chosen child, will walk forward not with the arrogance of the self-made, but with the deep, unshakable, glorious peace of the God-made. For you will finally know, in the cellular core of your being, a truth that renders you spiritually invincible: you are never, for a single second of your existence, unprotected. You are perpetually, perfectly, completely covered under the shadow of the Almighty, under the pinions of my wing. Love letter. Beloved, if this sovereign dispatch has reached the innermost chamber of your soul, if it has lit a fire in your spirit, do not depart from this place without taking the obedient step to stay connected. These are not mere motivational messages or positive affirmations. They are confirmed words, divine alignments, and prophetic instructions for those whose ears are tuned to the frequency of heaven. The next one could very well carry the master key to your next, greatest financial, relational, or spiritual breakthrough. Click the bell. Set your spirit to receive. Do not miss what heaven proclaims next over your life. Love letter. This word is sealed in the heavens. It is accomplished. Michael stands watch at your gates. I am with you, now and always, unto the very end of the age. Now go, and walk with conscious, deliberate grace into the new beginning I have prepared for you since before the foundations of the world. I will be waiting for you there. You are so deeply welcome. Thank you for receiving these words with your spirit, for pausing to listen, and for allowing heaven's heart to reach yours. This is not the end, it is a new beginning. Walk forward in the confidence that you are heard, you are seen, and you are loved beyond measure. May the peace of God, which surpasses all understanding, guard your heart and mind. May His angels encamp around you, and may His favor accompany you with every step. You are never alone. Heaven is with you. And so am I. With eternal love. Your Heavenly Father.